So, the concept of this video series is basically me pitching an idea for a game. It could be a sequel, it could be a spin-off, or it could just be God knows what. So in case you somehow clicked on this without paying attention or can't be bothered to look at the name of the video, then obviously the idea here is to pitch a spin-off to one of my favorite game franchises.
Want to know the name? Devil May Cry.
No, hey, look at that. Here's Kurayzee making a Devil May Cry video. Never seen that before! But this time, it's actually a little bit different. So I'm gonna preface this all with a few things. First, this is obviously the start of a new video series like I mentioned. And like all my reviews and such, that means you should expect this to be a thing I do at random and does not have a set date. Second, sorry for those waiting for a Birth by Sleep review. I wanted to do this first, and I've been slacking off severely. That one's still in the pipeline, but I'm lazy, and I also get stressed out easily because I suck at being ambitious. Third, this is your spoiler warning. There's undoubtedly going to be spoilers for Devil May Cry, its 4 sequels, as well as potential spoilers for the anime and the 2 classic novels, and Sparta knows what else. So if you're behind on that stuff, you might want to go back off for a bit and finish the series. So, just what is the idea behind Devil May Cry Devil Hunters? Well, if you watched my review of DMC5, then you're probably aware that I really enjoyed the cameo system bits where you fought alongside, or at least saw other players doing their own battles, and it kinda made me hope the Bloody Palace update would be co-op. Long story short, the Bloody Palace update wasn't co-op. I had started to think, however, what if they made a Devil May Cry game that was focused on co-op? Now before you start brandishing your devil arms at me, I want you to hear me out. I'm not one of these nimrods that thinks every game needs to be co-op, and the mainline Devil May Cry games should always be focused on the single-player element. That's not to say I'd be adverse to an extra mode or two with co-op or spots with it. Obviously I enjoyed those bits in DMC5, and I kinda yearned for extras with more of it. It's also why I'm tossing this idea out as a spin-off, not a sequel and not a reboot. That doesn't mean I'm gonna toss out ideas to disrespect the franchise either. Come on, I'm insane, not stupid. And that also means I'm not half-assing my concepts. One of the first things that needs to be addressed is the timeline. I'd say, have this take place after the events of Devil May Cry 5, and there's a reason for this. I wouldn't want the player characters to be the familiar cast members. Instead, you'd be something like a rookie hunter who joins up under Morrison's instruction to work with Lati, Trish, and on occasion Nero. Yeah, I know, I'm a monster, but I've got reasons for that. I'm gonna get into it over time. One of the big things about this pitch is to lead off with a create a character. Undoubtedly, some of you just started thinking, that's a dirty word in this kind of game! And, well, you're not wrong. You've got reasonable arguments, no doubt. Hell, I'm the one making this video, and even I'm arguing a bit with myself. After all, one of the big draws of the franchise is its crazy cast. Who doesn't love to play as the wacky woohoo pizza man Dante? I think lots of people can get behind playing as the loudmouth, rude, deadweight punk Nero. Those times where you play as the power-hungry, cold-hearted Virgil are memorable, and that's not even the whole cast that's been playable across these 5 games. Meanwhile, a major draw of creative characters is making a silent self-insert protagonist and having role-playing elements attached to them, which is quite a difference from the bombastic insanity of a Devil May Cry hero. I'll get to more of the stuff regarding the player character's personality in a bit though, because that involves the main cast as well, so don't condemn me quite yet. How would we even make a CAC work in this kind of game? Obviously, you need some basic choices. The first would be race. A lot of you might be rolling your eyes at this, but I think it's warranted. Think about it. We haven't just had Dante and his part demon family as playable characters. With Dante, Virgil, and Nero, obviously we've had hybrids running around doing fun demon things, but we've had a pure human in the form of Lati, and homunculi demon in the form of Trish and Lucia. Even in the novels, there were characters like Beryl, who was billed as a skilled demon hunter in her own right. So, How would we balance out the races? Obviously, humans are unlikely to be as powerful or capable as a demon in most cases, even if Lati could bring the pain in DMC 4 Special Edition. To balance this out, we put restrictions on weapons, styles, and skills depending on your race. Something like this. Demons can wield devil arms and can switch between like 3 of them, but can only maybe use 1 gun and can't use devil breakers. Hybrids can use 2 of each weapon and can use devil breakers, but maybe not effectively compared to a human character. Humans are restricted to perhaps only 1 devil arm, but you get the benefit of being able to switch between 3 guns and can use devil breakers freely. Homunculi and hybrids would of course have devil triggers. Homunculi could maybe reuse the amulet system from Devil May Cry 2. Yes, I know Dante could use them too, just bear with me here. And have a transformation something like Trish's. Hybrids could have something more akin to Nero's Devil Trigger from Devil May Cry 4, where you get a demonic silhouette that mimics your actions. Humans, however, are a bit trickier. I honestly wouldn't want to reuse Lati's Grenade Blast thing from Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, which makes replacing it more difficult. Perhaps something more akin to drawing power from a Devil Breaker. You get a power-up fitting of it, but no regenerating HP, and the stat buffs could be dependent on the equipped breaker. Then there's the styles. Obviously, you have the basic ones. Trickster for maneuverability, getting in close or evading. Royal Guard for defending and countering. Swordmaster for sheer close-range mastery. Gunslinger for shooting shit up in style and crowd control. Then, how about we toss in a few others? Dark Slayer could be exclusive to Homunculi and gives characters moves like Virgil's. Yes, I know he's half-demon, shush, I'm pretending I know what balance is. I probably wouldn't use Quicksilver on the grounds that it's not something that would really fit in with co-op in most cases. Perhaps have it tied to a Devil Trigger or Devil Breakers. Maybe a few styles that could bring your combat skills more in line with Trish or Nero. But probably not Lati because I just consider her a super powerful gunslinger, and not Lucia since I'm pretty sure she's basically a primitive trickster. And nothing like V. Maybe you guys liked him, maybe not, but it seems the general consensus is his gameplay just really wasn't right for this series, and I'm inclined to agree, even if I still had fun playing as him. And I think he'd be even more out of place in this idea. Now for the big change, limiting the styles to 1 per character. No switching, and probably no ability to swap out even out of a mission. Again, before you grab the pitchforks and torches, allow me to explain. Since the idea is to make a co-op game out of this concept, this allows each character to feel more unique. Race, styles, skills, all of this stuff allows you to craft an individual character and not worry about it overlapping with another, or at least not as much. This breeds usefulness across players. Obviously, one style may have an advantage over another depending on the situation. Imagine someone charging drive as a swordmaster, and you can leap in front of them using Royal Guard to defend them while it builds up, or a gunslinger launching an enemy into the sky and juggling them as a Dark Slayer prepares their judgment cut. Of course, you can argue that a single skilled player can already do that with Style Switch in Devil May Cry 4 and 5, but again, the idea here is to make the players feel unique and individual, helping each other out. Yes, these restrictions do hurt the creativity of a player to a large degree, but obviously, you can do some amazing things with skill. Devil May Cry 3 didn't have style switching, and it didn't stop people from doing insane, amazing combos. The non-Dante characters don't have styles, but can deliver some incredible combos with a talented player. Skill should still be the key to success above all else. So we somewhat covered that stuff in my stumbling way, but I still need to address the CAC's personality, or lack thereof. The first is through taunts. As usual, taunts should retain their boost to the DT meter and give a bit of a boost to the style gauge, but since we're going multiplayer, maybe have it also draw aggro, perhaps based on the current style ranking. Regarding the aforementioned personality aspect, give the player a choice of taunts. Take some classic ones and also make some new ones to really give the player options to work with. Another aspect, let the player choose which taunts are used at what style ranking. Longer taunts should give more style points or draw more aggro, but should also require you to stand still for a longer amount of time. Also, air taunts. These don't really need any changes from the way they're handled in Devil May Cry 5. I just really want them in this concept because they were friggin' awesome. The second thing to cover a lack of fleshed out personality for CAC. AI partners. When playing offline or otherwise doing things solo, players could be given the option of bringing main cast members on missions who can comment and chatter while you run around doing things. Of course, the player can still go it solo if they so desire. I see no reason why a person can't have fun on their own, but perhaps story events could still reflect a partner being there. Still, the idea of having AI partners would be something akin to the ones you occasionally get paired up with in Devil May Cry 5, or the ones that back you up during the end credits of Devil May Cry 3, or in Lady and Trish's campaign in Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. They could draw fire and kill a few things on their own, but if you really want to wreak havoc, you'll have to be the priority damage dealer. They'd basically just be support for you. One thing that I'd also have is AI partners wouldn't be able to be incapacitated. Since they're already less effective than a human player would be, this would to prevent them from ruining your run. Other players can be incapacitated in battle, however. If this happens, they can either expend a gold orb to revive, no red orb revivals this time, and while you can have as many gold orbs as you like, you'll still be limited to a maximum of 3 per mission, or you can use one of your own to get them back on their feet, or use another method involving items, which I'll discuss later. While incapacitated, they would fall to their knee injured, much like Devil May Cry 5, and remain like that until you either revive them or the mission ends, or if both players fall in battle and neither can or will revive, then it would be considered a mission failure. Furthermore, how to handle the customization itself. Well, one aspect would be to have a handful of costumes and such from the get-go. I don't think it would be worthwhile to hide stuff like hair, scars, or other aspects behind progression, just clothes and the like. Most of it could be bought, made, or unlocked by playing, with the fancier stuff or iconic main cast costumes being earned from higher difficulty missions. As for the character customization, in terms of body and such, I'd say go with something akin to Dragon's Dogma, or really anything with a deep character customization. I don't think I need to go in depth in this because it pretty much speaks for itself. So that explains how I'd handle the characters, but what about the weapons? Well, those would come in 2 fashions. Guns and Devil Breakers would be handled by way of buying them from Nico's shop.
Cash first.
Guns would be a simple idea. You purchase them, and then can upgrade them. This could be the simple basic upgrades, like just increasing base damage, or maybe improving rate of fire, or maybe increasing the number of color shots. But perhaps we add in a part system. You have to find various parts and break them down into gun components to upgrade, and you shouldn't be able to make a perfectly upgraded gun. If you get one upgrade, perhaps you need to sacrifice another. While basic upgrades can all be gained, component upgrades could have a limited number of slots, perhaps depending on the firearm.
My grandmother was called the 45 caliber virtuoso, legendary gunsmith.
Devil Breakers would be much like how they are in Devil May Cry 5, but perhaps keep the parts idea like the guns, except instead of finding and breaking down components, you just beat up various enemies. The cost for manufacturing these should be low in most cases. This idea should be a reward for exploring, fighting, and playing the game well, not grinding.
Hey, Psycho! What's the merchandise?
As for the Devil Arms, I think they should be rewards for beating bosses. I don't know which would be better here, upgradable with restrictions or variations with passives. Maybe a combination of both. Find a basic variant, sword, gauntlet, nunchucks, etc., and break down the ones you find fighting bosses if it has a trait you want. Different passives may result in different variants that are unique that you can forge, mix and match, or make your own customizable Devil Arms from. How about those juicy skills that make you feel so good when you learn how to chain them together? In order to keep the player always trying to improve, skills would be tied to weapons, with the exception of base skills. This means when you make or obtain a new Devil Arm, you have to repurchase skills, but because of your potential upgrades, you can get skills you wouldn't normally be able to on that weapon class. Some skills would be basic. Air hike, faster movement speed, enemy step, and the like would be basic character abilities that would be tied to the character instead of weapons, as would some style skills such as Trickster's Air Trick or Dash. I think it'd also be worthwhile to implement some kind of proficiency system, similar to leveling up styles in Devil May Cry 3. Reach a rank up in style, and you can purchase new skills. How about blue orbs and purple orbs? This is one of the trickier aspects to work with. I think instead of getting these from secret missions, they would be earned by reaching different levels, likely tied to your style rank. You can buy a certain number of upgrades per rank, but it maxes out at, say, 10. that's for both blue and purple orbs. This means you can try evening out your HP and Devil Trigger, or you can focus entirely on one. And mind you, the number is just a spitballing idea. But again, this is to prevent someone from trying to make a perfect character in terms of stats. Items would return in this spin-off as well, but in limited fashion. You can only carry a few and only one type. No sucking down vital stars like candy, but you're not as inventorially challenged as you are in Devil May Cry 5. I think a limit of 3 to 5 would be fair in this. Vital stars could be used to heal incapacitated allies, but only by half as much as they normally would be, and it would restore only their HP, unlike a gold orb. If used normally, you recover a certain amount of HP, perhaps a skill that raises their efficiency could be implemented, and maybe an ally would be healed if in close proximity, or at least in the same area. Devil stars would act very much the same, except without the benefit of being able to res a fallen ally. These would restore a bit of Devil Trigger energy. I don't think other consumables would likely be needed. Holy water should be left out entirely. I think the item shop should return in the form of Nico's workshop, simply for that extra bit of personality. Having her comment on your purchases, upgrades, or other actions would add a bit of soul to an otherwise mundane action.
Why building that well-functioning arm to kick demon ass.
This brings me to the controls, which would be customizable of course, but here's the basic idea layout, at least as mapped out in my head. Keep in mind this is based off a PS4 controller. L2, weapon trade, things like Exceed. R2, Devil Breaker. L1, Devil Trigger. R1, Lock On. Up, Item. Down, Break Age. Left, Switch Gun. Right, Switch Devil Arm. Touchpad, Taunt. Options, Pause. Triangle, Melee. Square, Shoot. Circle, Style Command. Cross, Jump. Left analog to move. L3 to locate partner or do a partner action. Right analog for camera. R3 for switch target. Then there's the matter of progression. Instead of the standard idea of running through 20 or so missions in a linear fashion, this would be more about instance missions with a set objective, with specific ones used to move the plot forward. This way, players who simply wish to play the story can do so, and those who want more would have that option. Missions would be broken up into different classifications. Investigations. These would be akin to Devil May Cry 1's missions. You run around, solve some puzzles, find keys, fight some enemies, and occasionally fight a boss. The idea behind these missions would be like miniature versions of the first Devil May Cry's map, where the more you play, the more it opens up.
Remember that, kid? Write it down on your hand if you don't trust your head.
Extermination. This would be more like the stage designs in Devil May Cry 4 and 5, a linear set of rooms where you slaughter every enemy and proceed. Once every foe is eliminated, you clear the mission.
Alright, time to kick some ass.
Challenge. A simple challenge issued to the player, along the lines of what secret missions would throw at you. Stuff like reaching a goal without touching the ground, staying airborne for a certain amount of time, or simply defeating all the enemies in a short amount of time. That kind of idea.
If you want it, then you'll have to take it.
Elimination. You versus a boss. Just a showdown between you and a powerful test of your skills.
What? No chit-chat or monologue? Just getting right to the point, huh?
Special missions. These would be recreations of existing scenarios from mainline Devil May Cry missions. Basically just there as a bonus that may give rarer or otherwise specialized rewards.
Showtime.
Before each mission, players could set up a lobby with an in-fight party system, or if playing offline, select an AI partner. At first, your teammates would include just Lati and Trish, but as you progress, you could unlock Nero and Lucia, and perhaps as bonuses, Dante and Virgil. Other players could also give you a character card, similar to the system used in games like God Eater, to allow you to bring their avatars in as party members, perhaps giving them potential online rewards for using their characters over a main cast member. Once the mission is selected and the mission lobby is made, you're able to buy any last-minute upgrades, check your loadout, choose an AI partner's costume, etc., etc. You can also do this from the pre-mission menu, so if you've already set it up, you can go straight into your mission once your partner is readied. I think player customization would be disabled in the lobby simply to prevent players from having to wait longer than necessary for their teammates. Obviously, this brings up an elephant in the room. How to handle the game's difficulty level. I think the best way to handle this is to simply apply ranking variations to the missions, perhaps even allowing for higher difficulties to be available from the get-go. This would go something like human difficulty. This would basically be practice mode. Little chance of failure, enemies go down easily and are less aggressive, etc, etc. I think to help make it a bit more balanced, you would only receive half the completion bonuses as far as materials or red orbs go. Devil Hunter difficulty, the game's standard difficulty. Everything would be about even here. Sparta difficulty. Enemies are tougher and attack aggressively. To compensate, maybe an increase by about 25% in mission rewards. King of Hell difficulty. I think a difficulty in between the hard and must-die difficulty would be a good idea. Enemy loadouts are now a bit different, and they're tougher. This should net a player a potential 50% mission bonus.
King? Yeah. Here's your crown.
Must-die difficulty. Enemies have yet another new spawn pattern, and they can devil trigger under certain circumstances, perhaps based on individual types, and they have new attacks or AI. For its extreme difficulty, this should be a potential 75% to 100% bonus on rewards. Clearing this difficulty story should result in unlocking a super mode that allows for infinite devil trigger, but it should hack your bonuses to pieces, just as Devil May Cry 4 and 5 did. Clearing the main story should have unlockable bonuses as well, and special missions should unlock iconic weapons, costumes for the main cast, and the like. In this scenario, I think Heaven or Hell and Hell in Hell would be dropped. This is based on the idea that it would get in the way of the multiplayer nature of the game, and even though it's still skill-based, I don't really see it working in this concept. However, before you all decide to murder me on the spot for even suggesting this, I think mission modifiers would be a valid idea. These would change things up further and add more replay value to any difficulty. In exchange for higher difficulty, you get better rewards for taking on a higher challenge. Scaled difficulty. If playing with another player, some enemies, particularly bosses, would see an increase in challenge, up to a full difficulty rank higher. This would be to compensate for the second player's additional skill. In the case of something like must-die difficulty, this would spawn enemies and devil triggered already. A solo player could probably select this to add even more dangerous foes to their challenge. Legendary Dark Knight. This would increase enemy spawn numbers by a large number. It wouldn't change the enemy types or the difficulty, but you'd be fighting a lot more mooks. Must Style. Taking a rare note worthy of praise from the disastrous reboot. This would make it so enemies are only damaged if you're doing a stylish rank combo against them. Also, the Bloody Palace would be included as an unlockable after beating the game on any difficulty, complete with co-op, because this is designed in my head as a co-op game, and also because I really want a co-op Bloody Palace, and fantasizing about a fictional game that will probably never happen gives me the warm fuzzies. Don't you judge me! Oh, and last but not least, a training mode, because practice makes perfect until you put it into action, and then you realize how bad you actually are at these games.
Yeah, let's go all the way to hell.
So, how about the story? Well, as I mentioned early on, I think it'd be fitting to have the player character working under Morrison, a relatively rookie devil hunter who's contracted to work with Trish and Lati. Perhaps the game's prologue could see them being prey to enemy demons chasing after them, giving them a basic tutorial before stepping into more serious missions, just as a framing device, eventually leading them to find out what the big bad's plan is, putting them at the center of the story, and leading them to seek out Morrison to hire Dante. However, because this is after the events of 5, Dante and Virgil are still MIA, and you wind up needing to work with Lati and Trish. After a couple missions, you meet up with Nero and Nico, and eventually Lucia, and maybe even Beryl, expanding your gameplay options and ultimately opening up the game. At this point, you need to go seeking out whatever MacGuffin the antagonist is chasing after, thus the game takes place in multiple locations rather than just one part of the world, and gives an excuse to check out multiple different environments. No explanation for special missions that take you to classic DMC locations, those are just there for funsies. Eventually, the bad guy gets the MacGuffins and triggers an apocalypse in typical DMC fashion, leading the gang to hunt him down and face him in an epic climax, bringing an ending to the story, and probably a cool fight during the end credits. And probably some kind of cliffhanger suggesting more adventure. What? The story doesn't need to be super deep, although a few comments from the characters based on your race, gender, etc., etc. could be entertaining. Maybe if you unlock Dante and Virgil, they could even comment on the situation, despite not typically appearing in most cutscenes on the grounds that they're not supposed to be there. What about the idea of DLC? Dude, no! I'm literally making a video on a theoretical spin-off. The fake game isn't even made. Don't even make me think about DLC. That will never exist! But jokes aside, if such a game were to have DLC, I'd want it to be significant. Maybe mission packs with a few mini-stories, or minor main cast members getting more attention. There'd be no low-effort microtransactions either. Certainly none of this spend real money for red orbs stuff, and because of the change in blue and purple orbs, there'd be no way to buy them with real money. Maybe stuff like alternate colors or extra costumes, but I'd really rather those be in-game unlocks. But I think I've discussed enough about something that will probably never happen. Certainly not based off this video, I'm sure. Honestly, I could have just summed it up as, take the DMC series, throw in co-op, but I'm both too ambitious to half-ass it like that, and too lazy to stop myself from making that comment. Truly, I am a man of incomprehensible confusion. Like I said, this will probably never happen, but it's fun to imagine. And hey, if something like this does come in the future...
Don't you dare say it, jackpot!
Thank you guys so much for watching. Agree with this idea? Disagree? Would you guys play this spin-off, or are you strictly calling for the series to remain as it is? Either way, sorry this video took so long to come out, even though I'm not sure I ever actually alluded to its existence, but I know it slowed down some of my other content along with my natural proficiency for laziness. And before I end my blathering, I'd like to offer a quick thanks to Lati, who sold her soul to the series and is frankly better at the game now than I am. She provided some of the footage in this video, as you no doubt saw. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you come back in the future for more content.